it has to be an internal motivation, right? To want to change. Like the external accountability is really important, I think, because I think it's very difficult to do it alone, but the initial motivation, you have to be internal. Like you have to want to change.
My name is Brian Panuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps successful professionals get wealthy outside of the office, in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I'm an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat inside of corporate America for 20 years, likely in a seat just like you do right now. Welcome to the Success Lift podcast. My name is Brian Panuzzo. If I can do all this stuff, so can you. I appreciate you being back with me. This is episode number 250 of the podcast. That means I've almost been at this for 5 years now. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm going to pat myself on the back and congratulate myself for showing up on a weekly basis, because showing up is a very simple thing to do. It's not always easy. It's not always easy to do it day in, day out, week in, week out, year after year. And that's how we create success in our lives. I know that you know this because you've done it inside of your professional career. And the same way you do it inside your professional career is how you create success outside of the office. And that's what I help people do in every other area of their life. And every time when they do that, they bring those skills, that energy, that clarity, that focus back into the office, and their career just continues to ascend higher and higher. I've seen this now hundreds of times, and I love helping people do it. Speaking of loving to help people, I have a very special person that I'm going to speak to on the show this week. Each time we hit sort of a milestone number of podcast episodes, I always try to do something special. And so for episode 250, I thought what a great idea it would be to have one of my longer clients that I've worked with on and off throughout the years. I've now been working with him for the last year and a half. You're going to get to spend a little time with him this week on the show. My man, Steve Scotto, and I go way back. We've known each other since my old life. I was originally a client of his in my bond trading career, my prior life. We got to be very friendly, as a lot of client relationships end up evolving over time. And we've remained very close since I left the business. He reached out to me 18 months ago because he was looking for help in his life. And we've been working together ever since. He's made some unbelievable progress and has transformed his life. He's down almost 50 pounds, and that's not even the most impressive part of his transformation, in my opinion. Steve is a brand new man and will continue to evolve and grow. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm so excited for you to get to spend a little time and hear about his story today, because his story is a lot like yours in a lot of ways. It's very unique in some ways, and it's very generic in other ways. And I say that all the time. You are a unique individual. Your problems, the things going on in your life are all very generic. We all deal with the same issues. And so if Steve can do it, if I can do it, so can you. If you enjoy this one, if this one makes an impact in the way you think about things, what you're capable of, how you can change, please share it with somebody else. I appreciate you. Let's get right to the conversation with my main man, Steve Scotto.
Steve Scotto, welcome to the show, buddy. What's going on?
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. 250, congratulations.
Thanks,
That's
man.
awesome.
Thanks. This was a special one. We were together a couple weeks ago. Full disclosure, having a vodka, and I don't know if it was you who were complaining. I don't know if you were complaining about not being on the show yet. Or...
No, I wouldn't do that. I just asked how many episodes it was, and you said
that's right.
You looked it up and you said, I got 250 coming up. Well, why don't you be on a guest? And I was really flattered.
Perfect.
You wouldn't
All
be
right.
the same if I had to ask.
So give me the honest answer. Are you annoyed it took 250 episodes for me to have you on?
No. I've heard the other guys. I know some of the other guys that you had on. I mean, my journey's taken a little bit longer. I've been working with you for 18 months, so, I haven't been, as we know, like growth's not linear. So I've balanced a little bit more than some of the other guys have, but it's a learning process.
It's not a results-based merit system that I ask people on, but you're accurate. Before we go to the results and all the things that we'll likely talk about, we'll go a number of different places. I just told you I was going to do this. I did a quick intro. Who the heck are you and why are you here?
My name's Steve Scotto. I am a friend of yours. We know each other for 13 years. Used to be my client. Now I'm your client. Kind of funny. Role reversal. And you literally sat in my seat. Like we met through work, and I needed some help. I needed to lose weight. I needed to get in better shape and get a little better mentally. And so I reached out to you because I've seen the growth that you've made and the progress you've made, and want to get on board.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about, because obviously you just said we've known each other for a long time. We've seen, different aspects of each other's lives. We've been, we got to get back on track. We
were member guesties for a while.
We dubbed ourselves member guesties for those not in the golf world. I don't know why you listen to this show, but that's the golf member guest. So when you're a member at a club, you have events, tournaments where you get to invite a friend and you spend a couple of days having a blast. And so I would go to Steve's. Steve would come to mine. So much so that sometimes members thought that we were actual members of each other's clubs because they would see us there pretty frequently. We got to get back on track there. We've been off track for a little bit, buddy.
We have,
moving thing that we both did is really throwing a wrench in track.
Yeah. I went to Florida. You went to California. So both went to sunnier states, which is nice.
True. I'm still.
But the nice thing is, when we used to play together before I started working with you, it was the twins comment, from the Danny DeVito Schwarzenegger was just so fitting, so inaccurate. Now I feel like it's a little less accurate. I feel a little better than Danny DeVito now, so I'm happy about that.
It's a little less accurate. I would agree with that. For those who don't know, I'm 6'6".
Height differential.
Steve was not 6'6". So yeah, we look like big brother, little brother type of thing. What was going on in your life? We worked together for a short period of time when I first started, when I felt like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So thank you for trusting me then, when I had no clue what to do. Now I feel like I have a pretty good handle on it, but I'm always learning. But it was like September of 23 or something like that, August or September.
Yeah, like September 20.
Yeah. Just take us back to what was going on and why you decided you needed some help and what you were looking for.
Yeah. First, don't sell yourself short. When you first started, you still helped me. I got me into stretching, which I needed at the time, and, increased my steps and increased my water intake, like all that stuff, are building blocks. So when I started working with you again in September 2023, at least that little foundation was there, I went through a very difficult divorce, took 2 years. And, when it finally ended, I felt like, I could focus on myself a little bit more. But the funny thing I think that I've realized is, like you always say, people are just making excuses, right? So I wish that I would have started working with you earlier, because what I've seen is that, I felt during the divorce, I had to be there for my kids all the time. They live with me full time. So it's like I'm a full-time dad of 3. And it felt like I always had to be there and really didn't have time for myself. But now that I've started focusing on self-care a little bit more and focusing on myself more, what I've seen is I've been a better dad for them, and that's been really cool. And, you have to learn at your own pace. You figure things out on your own, but that's one thing I've definitely realized.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think you knew some things to do, maybe not optimally, right? I think you well, I'll just straight to the point. What wasn't working for you in your life where you were like, I need help? Because most people, I think you've heard me say this before, most people know what not to do, right? And I don't think that they know optimally what to do, but there's probably enough there where people are like, yeah, I can get myself out of the hole that I'm in. But like, why didn't you just decide to start eating better, start drinking less, start doing some of the things that you knew probably should have been happening in your life before we started working together?
Yeah. Well, I would say there's two parts to this, right? One is, the accountability. Definitely helps having accountability to you. I am accountable myself, but it's totally different when there's someone else that you're accountable to. And, you sort of know what to do, but, I think there's a lot of, misinformation out there or just confusion. The first thing when people see me now, I've lost 45 pounds since working with you. I was obviously very overweight, still got 20 pounds to go, but,
Ish.
20-ish, well, my original goal was 50 and you've convinced me that 70 or 65 is the right number. So I'm 5 pounds off.
Wait, I didn't mean that you might need 20, 25 or 30. It could be 18. I don't know.
We'll figure out when we get there. So, I think goals actually are a really important thing. In the past, I've said to myself, like, okay, I got to lose weight, like go on a diet or start working out or whatever. And what I've decided to do with you this time is I'm changing my life. Like I need to just change the way I am. I can't go back to that. I have to really just change my lifestyle. And that's been pretty awesome. But the funny thing is, when people see me and I've lost all this weight, the first thing they ask me is like, dude, what cardio are you doing? I'm like, no, like don't do cardio. So, I walk, I try to take 15,000 steps every day, but yeah, no, I just lift weights and track my nutrition, and tracking nutrition was a big thing, I know protein is good and carbs bad, and, carbs are bad or whatever. And yeah, you don't eat pasta, but when you start tracking, you start seeing the numbers and you really get a feel for how much things are and the breakdown. You're like, oh my God, like, okay. And you can figure out, now if I go out to eat, I know what I can have, what I can't have, like what's better protein wise, like, fat protein ratios and stuff like that. And God, how much calories are in butter. Sad.
Sad story. You take, rightfully so, I know you take a lot of pride in your progress because you've made a ton of progress. I was just at your house recently, seeing some pictures of you, like the kids when they're young, like wild, dude, wild. You're like a new human being. It's incredible. And you continue to evolve to become a new human being, which I love. But so as you said, you lost 45, you started around 250 or 205 today. By the time this comes out, you'll probably be down a little more. I remember, we joke about, obviously there's context and history around some of the things we're talking about. So it's very second nature to us, but you were, I remember pushing you to think bigger. Do you have any thought now that you're around the area that you thought would be completely acceptable, huge goal, like I'm totally done, I'm good? Why, other than me refusing to accept that answer from you, why are you thinking differently now? Why are you thinking about there is more progress for me to be made as a human being, my physical body, my relationships, my mindset, everything? What's changed for you?
Well, I think believing in myself was one thing, when just to be honest, like the lowest I've ever been in my adult life is 195. And that was when I was 18 years old and in college. So, and that was, I've been heavy kind of my whole life, even as a kid. So I just didn't think it was possible, but now that I've gotten here, I see there's still a little excess down there, that I can definitely lose. So, you're pushing me, but also I think a large part of it is belief in myself that I can do this, you know? Um, when I first started with you in September 2023, and basically our goal was, okay, you know, 10,000 steps a day and 4 workouts a week, you know, 4 lifts a week, you know? And I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get the time, this and that. And then, you know, September 2024, I'm like, okay, we got to up this, you know? And then we said, okay, 15,000 steps a day and 5 lifts a week, you know? And some weeks I get 6, you know. Today I knew I was doing this with you after work, which is, you know, my typical workout time. So I got up early and got it done, you know. And I think that changing the mindset of, you know, I used to be very rigid with stuff. Changing the mindset of, let's just get something done. Like you always say that, right? Like, okay, you can't do the workout that you're supposed to do, just do some push-ups, do some air squats, do whatever. So today I knew that I was limited time, so I couldn't go to the gym where I normally would do this workout, like this Lifetime where I go down here. So instead I just went to this, you know, gym in my community where it doesn't have all the same stuff. So I'm like, okay, like just do the ones you can and then substitute the ones that you can't. Make something happen, you know, like it's still going to be a workout. It's still better than nothing. So that mindset for me has been really helpful, like where I might not be able to do exactly what I'm supposed to do. I might not be able to hit my macros exactly. Like in the beginning, I'm like, oh, let's try to hit them exactly. Okay, no one's going to pretty much hit them exactly, but just get close. And obviously the protein has been a huge change for me. Consume a lot more protein than I used to consume before I started working with you. And so that mindset has really helped me get to where I am now, you know?
It's important, I think, for people who don't know you to recognize like what you mentioned, like, you know, I can't do that. It's not going to fit my schedule. Obviously that's bullshit, you know, and I knew that at the time, but in fairness to you and in your defense, like not many people keep the schedule that you've had to keep for the last 18 months. And I got to see that firsthand. And so, you know, most of the time we are able to get help. You didn't have much help with parenting. You didn't have the ability to rely on other people as much as maybe others do in your life. And so I think it's even more impressive that you've developed this new lifestyle for yourself while, let's call it what it is, effectively being, you know, the full-time parent in your kids' lives, while driving them everywhere, while solving for meals for them, while having to travel up and down the East Coast to New York because you're still going back and forth a lot. And so I think it's a testament, obviously, to you as an individual, but also just further reinforcement for anybody who thinks they have a busy schedule. I will say I work with a lot of people who are just mind-bogglingly busy from a travel perspective, from a commitments on their calendar perspective, but every single one of them has support outside the office. And you didn't really have that. And so I think it's pretty cool that you were able to do it. And I always say, like, if I can do it, so can you, right? Like, if you can do this, so can other people. What have you taken away, you know, from that aspect of, you know, your journey in terms of like, you're able now to do all these things you're doing while still being, you know, effectively, you know, the sole provider and parent in the house?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working, you know, on myself mentally as well. And, you know, one of the things is, you know, not being so codependent, right? Like I could have said to the kids, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, which is what I do now. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. I'll be back an hour and a half, you know, they'll figure it out. They're not little kids anymore. They're 20, 18 and 16. So
yeah, you're not leaving 6-year-olds at home while you
no. So, and they all drive now. So the driving thing was definitely the fact that they could drive, take themselves to school now and stuff. That was a big factor in helping to be able to work with you and free up a lot of time and stuff. But yeah, like it, it was tough, but like I said, what I realized is that it was really important for them too, because, I used to come home and be in a bad mood, and kids would be, Dad, you're in a bad mood, it's like, because I wasn't taking enough time for myself. Like now, much happier. Obviously, being able to prepare your own meals and cook makes you able to control what you're eating and putting in your mouth. So when you're tracking the food, you know what you're actually eating as opposed to going out or ordering out. So it's like twofold. Like I'm making dinner for them every night, and I cook healthy stuff. Thankfully, my kids are in pretty good shape too, so they like the meals and stuff. So it's been great. It's hard, but I wouldn't change it because I love it. So
Yeah. And not just you alluded a little bit to the physical or to the mental aspect.
Yeah.
A little bit about, I mean, to be fair too, you hadn't just changed your career, but you kind of switched niches inside of a career around that time too. So how has all of the things that you've worked on outside the office from your physical health and performance impacted two things? One, work. Are you making a lot less money, or, not doing as well because you have spend all this time on yourself now? Obviously, I think that's a little bit of an alley-oop. And two, like how has it affected, relationships in your life, things like that?
Yeah. No, work's been great. Making more money since I started working with you. I think that being in better shape and doing the work I've done on myself has given me more confidence. And I think that, when you're meeting clients, because I'm basically in sales, and to an extent, do kind of more than that, but it's definitely helped me in developing new relationships with clients, and having that confidence, I think, gets them to want to talk to you, want to do business with you. So from that perspective, it's been awesome. I think my relationship mostly my relationship with my kids has improved as well. And I also started dating a girl who you met, Erin, who is pretty awesome. She definitely inspires me as well. It's like she's the other half. I got you on the physical side, or on the mental side, inspiring me. So it's been awesome, because I don't think that relationship would be what it is without this, without the work that I'm doing with you. So
Why not?
yeah. So it's it's been nothing but positive, and I have, had some changes with my job and stuff like that. For example, I usually just step outside for 5 minutes and just loop the parking lot of my office and come back in. And doing that a few times allows me to get to probably 7,000 steps before I leave for the day. But now that's been more difficult. So I went and got a walking pad and put it in my office. And instead of going outside for 5 minutes, I just hop on that thing for 5 minutes.
It was cool to see your environment and to get a little flavor for like what you're doing on a daily basis. Because, as a coach, like your radar is always up when someone's like, well, I can't do this anymore, and I stayed with you and I was like, oh, wow, you really can't leave your desk during certain moments of the day. And so, now I understand, like, you can't even be in the kitchen, from your home sometimes. So, cause I was like, this is bullshit. He could be fucking pacing around. He could be doing this stuff. He's fucking lying to me. So that was helpful to see. Now I understand that you have certain demands on you, and you're still making it work. So I like that.
Yeah. And you got to see that supersets really aren't possible.
That's right. Supersets are really possible. All right. So I want to circle back to Erin for a second, if you don't mind. And
okay. I don't mind
that if you do, because I'm just going to ask. I remember when you guys started dating, or you had mentioned to me she had made a comment like she wasn't sure you were fit enough for her to date. And I
Yeah.
don't remember at what stage you were at, but I remember that being a motivating factor for you.
That was first date. That was our first date. Yeah.
Are you fit enough now for you guys?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um, no, the cool thing was, the first time we started working together, September 23, and the first time he saw me, actually, no, the first time he saw me was March of last year, 2024. And I was still like early days, but then July, we saw each other in New York, and, you're like, dude, like saw you, of course, golfing. And you're like, dude, you're skinny, like you like, I looked and I was like, I've seen you on the golf course a lot. Like it did look like you, it didn't look like you at all. But this time the cool thing was when you came to visit just recently, you're like, you were skinny then, now you look athletic, like fit, which is pretty awesome. So I definitely, no, I think I'm fit enough now. So she's good. She's very, very happy with the progress.
Perfect. Yeah. So I saw you about 6-ish, maybe 8 months in. And I remember I pulled up to your house and I was like, I'm just going to tell him he looks good no matter no matter how he looks. Because I knew how hard you were working. I knew how hard you were working. I literally saw you. I was like, I was going to lie to you, but you actually look good. But you just looked skinnier. Like you just looked thinner. Like the air came out of you.
Yeah.
You looked better in the summer. And I remember we were playing golf and I looked over and I was like, that doesn't even look like you from behind because you were like across the fairway or something. I was probably in the fucking rough.
You're just on the cart path. I remember you were in the cart waiting because you were 50 yards ahead of me on your drive.
Oh, well played, partner. Way to go, buddy. Look at us just fucking putting it back and forth to each other. You didn't look like you used to look. And I've seen you a lot on the golf course, as you said. And then this time when I saw you, you actually looked fit to me. I think that's what I said. You looked athletic or fit.
Yeah.
And so it's really been cool to see that evolution in you. And I can't wait, because we're going to see each other every few months or so. And so I can't wait to see the next evolution for you. Where do you think I actually haven't asked you this in a while, but like what's your future story? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with where you're at physically right now? You're 250 you're 205 from 250. We definitely should strip a little more body fat off you so you look a little leaner. And then I'd love to see you, build some lean muscle, but like, what do you want? Like, what do you think you're capable of now that you didn't think you were before?
I don't think there's a limit, like that's the cool thing. Like, it's just, I don't want to be a bodybuilder or anything like that. I'm just saying that I've stopped. I think that's the problem with diets and everything is like you have this end result and then you just go back to doing whatever it is that you were doing before. Like that's not what I'm looking for. Right now the goal is 185, and then very excited to take the calorie intake up a little bit. That's going to be really nice. And then put on muscle. I've definitely in the past taken the experiential meals probably a little too far, which has hindered my progress. Definitely since you were down here, I've been more focused on that, and I'm going to continue to be more focused on that. But what I have noticed, when I do that experiential stuff is it's a lot easier to lift stuff in the gym, so I'm excited to get to the, muscle building phase, where I can really increase the calories and not, not crazy, but obviously in conjunction with you and tracking and making sure the calories aren't, the weight's not going up too quickly. But, I think that I'm really excited for that part of it. And then, see how we look. I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think you thought I would look like this at 205. I think you thought I would look a lot worse. And so it's fluid, right? And we'll see how it looks and where I am. And it's not there's a hard goal, but it's not really a hard goal. Like I'm shooting for 185, but like you said before, maybe get to 190 and it's like, okay, like we're good here. Let's build from here. So, I'm trying not to just be so rigid, like I said earlier, and what I'm trying to accomplish. I just want to look good in a bathing suit, like you said, taking my shirt off. So
Yeah, and you do right now. You will look better. You're getting strong as hell. You were definitely keeping up with me in the gym.
well, I was happy with the gap between us.
Yeah, that was.
There was a gap, but it wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be.
It wasn't that big. It wasn't that big. Also, you've improved some of your habits around longevity. I remember, back when we would keep all of our statistics on Google Sheets. I now have people on.
Quit smoking.
There were fucking 14 cigarettes a day. I was like,
yeah,
can I chop a little wood of the cigarettes?
Just threw that in there too.
Yeah. But you, all of a sudden, I didn't even notice because, I check in on everybody. Like we do a big check-in once a week, and then I kind of do proactive stuff throughout the week here and there. And sometimes there's no real schedule for me on that. It's like when I have blocks of time to do it. And I remember like, I must have missed it, but it was like 6 days, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why did you decide to quit smoking?
Well, it's horrible for you, for one thing.
Fair enough, coach. Great point. For the moment, like what were you like, like to me, this is what where maybe I'll lead you down the path a little bit. God, you say whatever you want.
The why?
The flip, the switch. Like why then? If you recall, like
I do recall. My dad was going to have shoulder surgery, and he went in for a checkup, and his heart was an AFib, and he had a little bit of a health scare, and I've said, okay, you got to get healthier, and I was like, I'm going to quit smoking to show you that you can do it. Like I had already started working with you and losing weight and stuff, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to quit smoking too. And he was talking about the why, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this for him, just to show him that he can accomplish something that's really hard, So that was really it. But for my kids, for Aaron, for all these people, like, I want to be around. I'm happiest I've ever been, and I want to be around for a long time, and that is not helping. So I know I needed to do that.
Awesome. Proud of you.
Thanks, man.
All right. Before we wrap up, you kind of told me where you want to go, which is great. I love that. But like, I love that you talked a bit about, zooming out and talking about like things that you're likely going to do forever, depending on various degrees.
Yeah.
I think, again, to your point, maybe to your detriment a little bit, you've had a lot of fun moments too in the last year. You're 100% entered a relationship. You're dating someone. You actively entertain clients. Like you haven't, found a new religion in the last 18 months and quit everything that we all know and love, in our old lives, in air quotes. So that's been cool. And I feel like you've begun to strike a bit of a balance between those two things. And as maybe you're alluding to, you're now entering a season of like, okay, I'm going to actually prioritize some of these things over some of those things for a period of time. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like most of the things you're doing right now are things you'll be doing for decades, not, months, as we all sort of.
No, 100%. I mean, you said it on one of your podcasts that you did probably about a year ago, talking about, one of my guys said, this probably is something I can do for the rest of my life. And it is, like I said, the experiential stuff, I've probably taken it a little too far, so I'm going to dial it back, but I still have fun. We had a great time last weekend or 2 weekends ago, whatever it was. And I can absolutely do this, repeatable meals. I mean, it's not that I don't love pasta, because I do. But I love salad with grilled chicken too. So,
I'm not sure.
Repeatable meals. I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Like once I started doing this, like, you talk about work and the work environment, and these guys would always get lunch, and they're like, oh, what are you getting? Because I wasn't prepared, and I'd get whatever. And then I started bringing in my lunch and coming in every day with it and say like, oh, we're getting to eat from here. I'm like, oh no, I'm good. And one day I didn't have anything, and I just was going to run to Publix and just grab cold cuts or whatever. And I was like, oh, what'd you guys get? Because I was just curious, like, because it looked good. And like, oh, we didn't ask you because there's nothing at this place you would eat, So it's like, they know, I wasn't going to order with them, but yeah. So having a, huge thing of pasta at lunch at work that's not experiential. That's just not smart, like prepare your stuff. I've got my yogurt in the fridge. I've got my fruit. I've got my protein powder and all that stuff. So I got my David's bars now. I've switched from the Verabels because I am in a calorie deficit. So every calorie counts. But I just remembered something from my goals. If you remember when we first started, I said to you, I just want one ripple. I don't want a whole 6-pack.
I remember that.
I just want the one ripple. That's my goal.
Bullshit.
One ripple.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna smash that belief. As soon as you celebrate that ripple, I'm coming off the top rope. How has that's one thing I didn't really ask about, because you had, I would say you're fairly typical, hostile is not the right word, but unfriendly, unsupportive work environment. How has your environment at work changed? You just kind of alluded to it, but how has it changed over the course of the last year or so for you?
Yeah, well, working in a satellite office, there's not as many people here. And a few of the people that I work with are in New York. They're scattered a little bit, but I don't directly work with any of the guys that are on the desk, as we would say on Wall Street terms. So I'm not sitting on that. I am in my own office with a door that I can close and stuff. So I don't see that food every day unless I walk out and then I pass by it and I'm like, wow, they're really going after it today, But it's like 3 pizzas for 4 people. That's maybe aggressive. So that, I wouldn't say it's helped or anything because, when you decide to change, you decide to change, right? Like once you just refuse to accept that as what you have to do, like you went through it. I mean, you were on a desk and I know it's like you say all the time, right? Like in the beginning, they think, oh, look at him. Like, what's he doing? And then, 3 weeks, a month later, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, hey, what can I do? So, people do ask like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like lifting weights, tracking nutrition. So once you make that switch, I mean, it has to be an internal motivation, right? To want to change. Like the external accountability is really important, I think, because I think it's very difficult to do it alone, but the initial motivation, you have to be internal. Like you have to want to change.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love the pride what you're experiencing is what everyone experiences when they make commitments over a course of time and they stick to them and they create results. Is you develop a body of evidence to support that you are who you now, you think you can become, and you develop this pride about yourself too.
Yeah.
And we were playing, and that super nice guy who's the doctor, we were talking and you're like, yeah, I'm down 45. And he's like, you taking the shot? And all of a sudden I was like, oh boy. And I just started walking faster up the fairway. And you were like, no, I'm not taking the shot. It's funny how you just make, assumptions. And it's great that you're able to be like, not that that's good, bad, or whatever. But for you, it's not something that you wanted to do. And you take tremendous amount of pride in your hard work and your effort and your results.
So that's the first question. The first question is, oh, are you doing Ozempic? No, I'm not doing Ozempic. Like, do you see me? Like, you see people on Ozempic, they don't look like this, And then the second question is, oh, what cardio were you doing? And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So when you say like people know what to do, it's like they really don't, because those are the things that people are doing, Ozempic is like skinny fat. And as soon as they come off it, because I know people who have done it and they've lost 20, 30 pounds, then they come off it and they bounce right back up. Like you have to commit to want to change for your life if you want to maintain what you're looking to achieve. So, and
You are. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, bro. Proud of me too.
Go
Proud
get
of
that. Thanks, man. Go get that Ripple, and then we'll go get the rest of them.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. I appreciate you. I love you, man. Keep rocking. Keep doing this. You're doing great. Can't wait to see all those abs when they come in.
All right. Love you too, buddy.
All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you next week.